Thank you so much for joining us once again tonight for this very interesting and timely session as we conclude or come to the end of our series. These are bonus sessions that have been added because the presentations thus far have not focused on how we can give the next generation a better understanding of finance and a better starting point than we were privileged to or we did not have. So today we're talking about raising money-wise, wealth-wise children and building generational wealth God's way, or how can they leave a legacy um, in the children. And the focus of this thinking is taken really uh, from the biblical text, Proverbs 22, verse 6. And whenever we talk about this verse, we tend to limit it to certain areas of discipline and behavior, but forget that in Deuteronomy chapter 6, the teaching of children, um, 6 verse 5 encompasses everything that we as adults do. We must leave them a legacy. We must leave them the benefit of the wisdom of teaching them in daily living. The Bible says, as you go, whatever you're doing, teach your children. So train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. Can you imagine if we were able to pass on to our children good financial discipline, a mindset that is at peace or comfortable with money, and all the budgeting rules and financial wisdom, then we would worry less about how our children would fare in the future. So this text, in my view, is well encompassing and also covers this area of finance. So let me share with you a reason why maybe this is really such a pertinent or an important topic. The average child will get about £5 pocket money weekly. Is probably, I'm talking out of term, maybe they get a lot more because there's very little you can get for £5 these days. But let's work with that. An average child will get £5 weekly pocket money. And the median, that's something almost like an average, but it's not quite the average mathematically. But nonetheless, we'll say a median non-mortgage debt in the UK between the ages of 25 and 34, according to the ONS, is about 5,300. But that excludes student debt. And then what we find is that at 18 years old, most of the children in this country have absolutely nothing in investments, which means they are already lagging behind in terms of investing and in terms of the future legacy for themselves. On average, student debt for an English graduate is about 45,000. So that is the path most children walk. £5 a week pocket money. At 25 to 34, they've got debt of about 5,300 in credit card mostly. They've got zero investment, and when they graduate at about 21, they've got a heavy debt of £100,000, which is charged, by the way, at 9% interest.
Mm-hmm.
Today, we are going to try by going through this series to see whether we can flip this statistic. Can we change it for our children? And this is the price of waiting. When you leave things until later, let's look at this same individual who has £100 a month to save. Let's assume a growth rate. That's how the money will grow. 6%, which is what normally insurance companies use to project your pension growth, etc. And depending on the age they start, you'll see the difference that it makes at the age of 60. So the first person in sort of greenish, um, he's on the full runway, 42 years of compounding. That's a very important word when you think about investing for your children. It's compounding. In other words, interest builds on interest on interest, and it keeps building up. So for 42 years, if they started at 18, they would have invested 50,400, just the £100 a month. And at 60, they will have £262,000, assuming that 6% growth. £262,000. If you leave it 7 years later and you start at 25, you'll contribute 42,000. And at the age of 60, that person who just delayed for 7 years will have 143,000 saved. If you leave it until you're 35, and that's when most of our young people, that's when the reality of aging kicks in, or when they start families or they've got family, etc. 25 years of growth, they will have contributed £30,000, and look at the value they have at the age of 60, 58,000. So some of us are disadvantaged right from the beginning because we do not start early enough in saving. So starting at the age of 18 versus 35, the same £100 a month, there's a difference of about 204,000 at retirement. That gap is the price that we pay as parents, that we pay when we don't train our children to start, or we don't get them started early to invest. Now, we'll look later on at actually, you don't have to start at 18. You could start at 0 from the time they are born. You could start investing for your children. And you could see what that impact is on the final picture. So today's session is summarized really by those two slides. The earlier you start, the better it is long term because of the simple arithmetic outcome of compounding. So we're going to look at why it matters, the foundation, money conversations, mistakes to avoid, and daily habits that you should start drilling or inculcating into your children. And the outcome, one outcome, children who are wiser with money than we were because we did not have the same benefit of this education. So why this matters and why now? What you need to understand, what we all need to understand, is that the system is designed for us to spend and spend and spend, not to save. Because if you save, you become economically empowered. And when you're economically empowered, you are less likely to take direction from the powers that govern the world or our countries because you are financially resourced. So the whole thing is designed to for us to be getting money out of our pockets and not to be putting money into savings. So just this week, I got a notification that they're going to add to my debit card click and pay. So they've moved on from the tap where you just tap in and you don't even remember your passwords. And now it's going to move on to click and pay. It's all geared towards making it easier to dispense with money than to save money. So one click buys, in-app spendings, you just click an app and you start spending. Social pressure to spend and to be like the Joneses. Everything is just one tap away. And our children, all these prime, delivery in less than 24 hours is all aimed at attracting and encouraging us to spend and spend and spend and spend. So that's the instant gratification that we are growing in and our children are growing in. And there's so much pressure on them to be receiving stuff and buying and buying. And they go into the supermarket, they raise merry hell, crying because they want to just shop until they drop, even at a young age. Now, habits form by the age of 7. So, which means if we don't really start early, we will have a hard time trying to rein back control and teaching children the habits, even in spending at that age. Money mindsets are largely set before primary school ends. Can you imagine that? Before primary school ends, the money habits are already formed. So we need to start early. Consumption versus stewardship. Culture teaches spending, scripture teaches stewardship. We need to be accountable for the resources that God has given to each one of us. And number 4, parents go first. You are your child's first and loudest financial teacher. The way you organize and you run your finances is the biggest lesson, the biggest school that your children will get, and they'll grow up in that atmosphere. So you have a responsibility to shape their attitude towards money by the way you or yourself conducts yourself financially. That's why we started with adults and we're ending with this session. And in one of the authors, it says, talking about the story of Samuel, for those of you who are familiar with the Bible, it says that the greatest service, that's a commentary, you can offer to God is to raise your children to serve God. What a folly to leave this until a later age. It is a folly to think that, oh, they don't understand money right now. And they can go into the supermarket and scream their way into the shopping basket and to pick up everything. And you don't rein that in. Oh, they're too young to understand. No, you need to start teaching them the value of money. Money stays hidden. Children rarely see how adults earn, how adults budget, or how they save. We keep that away from them. So if we keep that away from them, how are they going to learn about money? From the time the child counts, they should be able to count their tithe and they should be able to count their offering to take to church or to God, and that gives them a sense of their stewardship responsibility, but also we'll talk about the tool later on of budgeting. They should also live right from the beginning using that formula that we shared in the adult lesson. And the biggest one from the example we saw is that we don't teach about the power of compounding. Compounding is totally ignored. This is the most powerful force in finance, and it gets zero time because we're spending, our focus is on spending. We don't teach about the power of how, when I put some money today in a savings or in an investment, in the following year, the interest I get is my principal plus the interest from that year. But now the interest rate is applied on both what I've earned this year and what I put on initially. And that's what leads us to that massive 204,000 difference between somebody who starts at 18 and somebody who starts at 35. It's an unbridgeable gap and it's purely through the power of compounding. So we need to understand that ourselves, the power for compounding, and put it into practice and make money a part of the conversation and the training of our children. So this is the instant society, one-click buying, buy one, pay later. That's the trap. I am a free subscriber, for example, to Spotify, and I'm inundated with adverts. You can listen to music as you like. Just subscribe for 3 months and cancel anytime. They know that I'm a busy person, right? And I will forget. And they've got me hooked. And then I'm now paying for it. Higher purchases are the same. 0 for 6 months. They know they're going to get you because at the end of 6 months, if you're not able to buy things now, you're not going to be putting money aside to be able to pay off that loan at 6 months. And then the interest that is going to be charged once you default on your end of your HP, higher purchase, is going to be so punitive because they know, again, people who buy through higher purchase are likely, through statistical analysis and human behavior, that they're not going to have the money 6 months down the line or a year down the line to pay off that loan. Although it's so-called interest-free, it will be if you're disciplined and you pay completely at the end of the time. Social comparisons, yeah. Gaming, microtransactions while you're playing these games, and this constant pressure of adverts. So the takeaway from this slide is if we don't teach our children, there are so many teachers out there in the world, and they will not teach the children the values of building a financial legacy. They will teach them how to spend what they don't even have. So the responsibility comes back to us again to be the teachers of our children in terms of finance. So who we are, how to think, and the numbers that change everything, the mindset and the foundation. So I've already talked about training up a child, and the Bible talks a lot about stewardship, wisdom, diligence, and contentment, generosity. Contentment, we have a generation of very uncontented children. Their contentment is defined by what they have. And that's not the source of contentment, true contentment. So if they are associated being happy and being content with a delivery that comes through the letterbox, then you are in trouble. They should learn to be content in themselves and not through what they receive and what they are able to buy. So true contentment is very important, and the idea of generosity, being able to share what they receive. So what is an investor's mindset then that we should be trying to train or teach our children? The biggest pressure is instant gratification. We as adults struggle with that too. So the idea is, even if you can afford things, don't buy them at the behest of your children. Teach them to wait. Teach them to know that money has to be put aside. Even if you've got, work with them on a weekly basis to say, we have put £1 or £5 towards what you want. This month we put another £5. And in 2 months' time, we're going to get that item. You need to work in such a way that things are not received or got at the click of a button. They need to wait, resisting the urge to spend now for a bigger future reward. And there's always got to be a trade-off. Because money they spend, it means is money they don't have to save. And they have to balance between the present and the future. So delayed gratification is a practice that you or we must be practicing with our children, because the world is just training and pushing for getting whatever they want in a moment. Budgeting discipline, tracking where money goes and directing it with intentionality. So they need to sit down when they get their money, knowing the budget discipline that is needed, because you can't just be spending money as it comes and is gone. You need to be intentional, and you need to direct the money where to go, not try to find out where the money has gone. Understanding compounding, letting time and interest multiply small amounts into larger amounts. So if you do that with your child and you show them how much little you put, and at the end of the year, without them working on the money or adding any more, this is how much additional money you've got by putting money aside instead of spending it. You're teaching them the principles of compounding and how the money grows by itself by being in a safe saving account. Opportunity cost, recognizing that every spend is a choice and a trade-off. So when you spend, you're not going to save. And so there's a cause and effect, between spending and buying things. So you're teaching them there to make choices. Risk awareness, understanding that return and risk are two sides of the same coin. So according to the age, not all savings will go smoothly. So you're beginning to teach them about spreading, or the technical term is diversification, how they should not put everything in one account or in one whatever saving instrument. So all of those things you begin to share with them. And then they should start building assets, accumulating things that generate value and income over time. And so we'll look at some of those things that are child-friendly that they can start building and you start sharing with them. But really, it starts with a conversation, making money a regular topic and not a secret. Money is the biggest secret sometimes in families. It's hardly discussed and no one knows how much one is getting, etc., etc. And it raises that atmosphere in the home where money is a secret. What I earn is mine and you don't have to know. And the children certainly don't have to know. And all of that. So you need to be at the dinner table. There should be a conversation about money. This week, We choose the cheaper holiday so we could give more to church or so we could put more to an investment. Whatever it is, the alternative, you're teaching them that there's a trade-off, there's a balancing, there's a prioritization. Whenever you have a resource, where you choose to make it, it means you're choosing not to, where you choose to put it, you're also choosing where not to put it. Show the trade-off, not just the outcome. So they learn to make decisions and to think about the pros and the cons of every decision they make financially. So you could have those discussions at a dinner table. Walk through what the electricity and the food, shopping, and the tax actually costs. Mastery breeds anxiety, mystery rather builds anxiety, but openness builds confidence. So they need to know. I know as some children are brought up spoiled, even if they are working a full wage and they are living at home, they don't contribute a single thing to the bills of the household. You're not doing them a favor. Because sooner or later, they're going to leave your house and they're going to have to face those bills. And they haven't had the experience of dealing with bills and making decisions. Their money is not 100% to spend on going on holidays and doing whatever they want. Consuming, they need to know that there are bills that need to be paid on a monthly basis. And you do that by showing them the bills when they come. And in some cases, even if that's not the situation, you're going to have to say, because of this bill, we are going to be eating a lot of boiled potatoes this week. Yeah, there isn't going to be the special dinners that we normally have. This week it's just going to be boiled potatoes and beans, because we have to pay this bill. Otherwise, the lights are off, or the British gas turns off the gas. So you're teaching them that there is a balance to be had and there is a prioritization. And when it comes to when they ask, can we afford it? Answer honestly every time, yes, but it's not how we want to use our money. Yes, we can afford this, but is this the right thing to spend our money on? You're teaching them values about discernment and about making wise decisions about where to put money. You just don't take it out of your pocket and spend. You have to decide how to spend. No, not right now. Again, it teaches them about you working against that instant gratification culture. Yeah, we're going to get it, but maybe in 6 months' time. You might well have the money, but you're teaching them a lesson that they don't get what they see every time. Teaches priorities. Both are good answers to such a conversation. At the end of the month, show the give, save, spend, split. That's the budgeting tool we talked about. Let them see what your household actually did, not what you planned. Real numbers formalize budgeting, and you are modeling stewardship. And where you don't hit your target, again, it's a learning opportunity for them because you can explain why you ended up not following that particular discipline or formula that you chose, and how you're going to do better next time. So it requires a bit of vulnerability on us as parents. So what is spoken about at home becomes thought about in life. This is the training day to day, in everyday habits and things that we do that pertain to finance. We're going to have a conversation with our children. So, but these conversations, obviously, as you might have already figured out, they are age related. Some of them are too complex for younger children. How do you think we get money to buy food? Introduce earning, Use the jar system, the jars where the jars are labeled with different things. Let them count real coins. So that's ages 4 to 7. They begin to appreciate money because they need to know that to get money, you have to work. 8 to 12, this is what our family earns and where it goes. Show a real simplified budget. Explain needs versus wants with the children and with examples. A lot of what our children cry for are not needs. They are wants. And most of this ends up being thrown in the garden, discarded, because it was just wanted for a moment. A lot of Christmas gifts that are bought, they're used on the Christmas morning as soon as they are unwrapped. They're literally thrown about, and not a care in the world for those particular things, which they might have been crying for when you were at the supermarket. 13 to 16, here is your savings account. A child should have an account by then. Let's watch how it grows. Let's watch it grow together. Show the junior ISA balance, show them how much is growing or what they are putting into it themselves. Children get a lot of money for birthdays in this country, and birthday gifts, etc. Don't let them blow all of it. Guide them to these instruments where they can save, and then you can sit at the end of the year when the statement comes. You can explain the power of compounding with their own money as the example. 17 to 18, we're talking about people just finished A levels, pre-university. What do you know about your LISA or Life ISA and pension options? They should start talking about pensions then. Walk through the Life ISA because it starts at 18 years old. Opening process together, make it a rite of passage for them as they turn from 18 onwards. Use this as a rite of passage where they can actually start saving for the deposit of their house, towards their house deposit, or you could leave, ELISA can be a deposit to a house or a pension. So the give jar, so these are some of the jars that you can start sharing with the children. The 4 habits to plant early. Give first, not last. So the give jar fills before save or spend. Order teaches priority, and it sort of works against selfishness. So in biblical speak, the give is where you set your tithe and your offerings to God first, and then your savings, and then you move backwards to the other formula. But whichever way, there is a formula that you stick to. Give a percentage, not a leftover. Tithing is 10%, obviously. From age 5 builds a habit that outlives. I wouldn't say age 5, I would say from the beginning. Give a name and a face. Pick a specific charity, missionary. In our case, it's our church, but there are other charities as well. Generosity needs a person. Give time, not only money. Saving builds the same muscle. Visit, volunteer, share what you have. A generous child grows into a free adult. They are not a slave to money. Money never owns them. So that's the principle you are teaching. They should not be so driven by money that they see a need and pass it by because they want to go and gratify this instantaneous need for buying something. So these are some of the mistakes that good parents make. If one of these stings, that's where to start. The honest mirror is the first tool for change. So the first mistake is that the £5 lesson at an age 8 prevents the 5,000 one at 28. So by nipping it in the bud, as they would say, early, you're actually preventing serious financial mistakes or decisions and choices at an adult age that will be so crippling. So rescuing every mistake, don't rescue every mistake. If you give your child £5 and they decide they're gonna go to KFC and eat it all up and it's money for the week, that's hard luck. They have to spend the entire week respecting the budget that was set, and there is no extra money that is going to come from your pocket because that's a decision they've made. You're rescuing and you are instilling discipline in them that finances are used with discipline and responsibility. So don't rescue them, let them learn. Number two, making money taboo. Silence teaches secrecy. Children copy what they cannot discuss. They are observing, so don't make money a private affair and a secret in the family. You talk about money. We can't afford it as an end. Better, we are choosing something else. You can't say you can't afford it because money is there. The children see you spending it on other things. Uh, but the key thing is you are not prioritizing on what they think is an important thing. We are choosing something else. Choice teaches scarcity scarce or scarcity scarce. Modeling stress around bills. Children read your face. You might not share with them, but not your spreadsheet. You show them the figures, and they begin to understand that cycle of monthly or 3 monthly, depending on how you pay your bills. Reward and punishment with money. Mix love with currency. Praise and consequences. And, you know, not transactions. So they need to know the pros and cons of the decisions that they are making. Saying one thing and doing another is probably the biggest one we all make. I'm not going to give you because of number one, you've blown your £5 pocket money for the week on a Monday. And then, on Tuesday or on Wednesday, you're dishing out another £5 or £10. You've said one thing and you're undoing it, by doing another altogether. If you're going to be sticking to a particular principle, you stick to it, and then the lesson will land. Tap to pay, sigh at the bank statement, hide spending, they all see it. So you need to share and talk to them about that. None of these mean you have failed. All of them can be repaired by your next dinner when you have that conversation at the dinner table. So let's make money part of the conversation at the dinner table. Mistakes smart parents make. Keeping children's savings in cash. Now, we've already talked about that, parents. Cash is not the best place to keep child's investment. A cash account is losing 3% to inflation over 10 years is a guaranteed real terms loss. Stocks and shares, ISAs, you can go for cash, you can go for safe investments. You can take advice, but cash is not anywhere to keep more than your contingency fund. Teach children also to have a contingency fund. Paying off the mortgage before tax wrappers. Yeah, mortgage rates and junior ISAs and life ISAs returns are often comparable, but the tax wrapper advantage is a permanent and irreplaceable. So the suggestion here from Money Supermarket is that if you have an opportunity to pay off a mortgage, which is costing you the 5% interest, and an ISA, which pays more interest, you're better off putting money in an ISA than in paying off your mortgage. But obviously, you'll have to have that conversation. If the burden of not having a mortgage is what you want to get rid of, then that's fine. But from a financial point of view, you should be directing money to where you get the greatest return for your money. Treating the junior ISA as untouchable family money. The child needs to understand it, watch it grow, and learn from it. Secrets breeds disengagement. So this is their account. Let them actively be involved in how it's growing and how it's building up. Waiting until finances feel sorted. Ecclesiastes 11 again is my go-to text, which always tells us that whoever watches the weather will never plant. So if you're watching and waiting for all things to line up and for all money to fall in place and have so much excess cash in your at the end of the month, you will never start saving. You just have to make the best decision with what you're dealing with right now. Follow the formula of the discipline. There's a lot of cutting down we can make on the groceries we eat. Our bins eat more, showing us the excess that we are buying and spending where we should not be. So there is always a place to make cuts and to reduce our spending so that we can save. Um, Otherwise, that slide I started off with of a 2000 deficit just because someone started at 18 and another started at 35, leading to a 204,000 difference at the age of 60. Confusing a child trust fund with a junior ISA. So we'll cover that later on. But the key text here is the plans of the diligent lead to profit as surely as haste leads to poverty. So we need to be diligent in this work. It can be tiring, but the children will soon learn the discipline. When you give up in the first week or two and you just cave into their pressure, because they are receiving pressure from outside, this is the first place to teach them actually you are your own master. You don't have to face pressure from outside. Learn to deal with peer pressure um, because you've got a plan. You're working towards a plan. So the instant society, age appropriate training, earning, and then the 50 30 rule, real world lessons. That's what we're going to cover quickly. So we've already talked about 3 to 7. Give them save-spend jars. So you actually label the jars, give, save, and spend. And then as they get whatever they get, they put the appropriate proportion in the give jar, in the save jar, and in the spend jar. And then at the end of the month or whatever, you take each of those and you deploy it accordingly. Practice waiting. We really need to help our children not be sucked in this psychology of spending and getting gratification through material things. Small choices, big lessons. Pocket money, rhythm, simply budgeting, earning through chores, yes. Get your children to work and do some chores in the house and they get rewarded financially. Now, some people are opposed to that. They think they should just do it because they are also part of creating the mess in the house. I shouldn't be paying my child to go and wash up the plates because they've just had dinner. And there's no slave here who cooks dinner for them and washes up the plates for them. So why should they be paid? But that's a family conversation. There are some who think that when a child hoovers the house, they have to be paid. Uh, you can decide what you want, but they must earn something for doing certain chores. And then first bank account, debit card, you're teaching them their responsibility to use money independently, investing basics and planning bigger purchases with them. Because that's when they are now starting driving lessons, and maybe at the end of it, they might be their first car or whatever. But they can start saving for the car if they want. Um, so the effort, I think that's the effort equals money. Again, skills become income, first real job and pay slips between 15 and 18. So these are some of the things that they side hustle online, started CV, track every role and skill, Saturday or Sunday job, real, read the pay slip, gross and net tax and all of those things. They start learning about all of those things. So there are different things that they can do here to start earning money. And we talked about this. There's absolutely no reason why children can't, with every single penny they get from their child benefit, the money can be divided in this formula or a variant of it, where 50% is for their needs. So those will be their nappies and their food if they are young children, essentials, the things that have to happen. And then the 30%, that's where they get their toys. And if that money gets spent, there are no toys, new toys that are bought until there is another income that comes in and falls into that bucket. And then you can buy them new toys. Small toys, small joys, chosen eating out. But you're teaching them not to be impulsive. They have to learn. Save, invest tomorrow money. Seeds, it grows from the seeds we plant today. So the 20% is for the giving and the saving. So use those three jars or three digital pots. You got digital tools now. The same percentages work together, whether the money is £1 or £100. The point is the habit. Every coin gets sorted before it gets spent. That is how discipline, choice making, and delayed gratification become the norm. So let me give you an example. I understand this is the UK child benefit figures. The first child gets £110.93 per month from child benefit. So if we broke it down in those formulas, 50% of the needs would be £55.47. So you start teaching your child or yourself while you're making decisions on behalf of the child that you're going to limit their spending, things that you spend on their needs, to £55.47. Their toys are not going to exceed £33.28. And they are already saving towards and giving. Now, I believe this is an increase and a child should be returning, but other people have a different view. Whatever it is, the third box is 20%. Now, your child could actually start having a junior AISA based on that 20% from the day zero or the day they are born, and they can start building that. The additional child gets £73.45 a month, which means their needs are £36.73. Their wants can be met at £22 a month. You divide that by 4, that's what? Probably quite a challenge. And the 20% is £14.69. So you teach them that formula, or if you're managing their money and you're sticking to this formula, that's what should be happening. The child should be saving. Moving very quickly, So the budgeting is the foundation of gaining control over the money. Money is not just spent anyhow. Tracking spending and setting goals. So again, I like this particular quotation. A budget is telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. The supermarket lesson, again, the child takes their 30%. And if they spend it, that's it. They're not buying, they're not putting anything else in the shopping basket because their 30% has been spent. Hand them their wants money, and then they can walk around in the supermarket and pick whatever they want. And once the 30% has reached, that's it. That's what they leave the supermarket with. They don't pick up things and end up putting you in the household 30%, or in your household 50%. Ask 3 questions every time. Do I want it or just like it? Is this the best use of my £3? Could I save it for something bigger? Let them pay, and they need to see that money going through the cashier's hands, and let them keep the change because it's their money. Let them walk out with their wants money unspent. That's the lesson of winning that control. So going back to this one, the strategy and the legacy. So this is what we're going to cover in part 2. How do we do some of these things? How do we move on from these habits, the daily habits, to the strategy of actually creating a legacy? So we're looking at teaching them to avoid debt, priority stacking, the inheritance from grandparents, mistakes to avoid, real families, see examples of how other people manage this, and how we can starting today. And the key text here is Zechariah 4, verse 10. Do not despise the small beginnings. Those lessons you teach to your children, it will grow, that when you read that text further, it says that this is the beginning of an amazing thing that is going to happen. So our time does not allow us any longer, but that's what we're doing next week is our final session. And again, if you've been blessed, we would like to do more of these. And that's the account for the Oasis. We want to have a building. And if you're so moved and so impressed, you can donate to that account. Any questions? We'll have about 5-10 minutes for questions, and we'll bring this session to a close. Thank you very much.